The European parliamentary elections still all over them.
That's right. It's the big story, continues to be today. Of course, the mainstream political parties took quite a beating in those elections, while Eurosceptic parties, well, ironically did very well in these European elections. So let's take a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Once again, the smiling UK Independence Party leader, Nigel Farage, they're celebrating his party's strong showing with a beer. And there's the headline. It says that Europe sends a message in this vote. And in its editorial, the Wall Street Journal says this is really a warning to Europe, a wake-up call for centrist politicians. And unsurprisingly, the Wall Street Journal really lashes out against European technocrats in Brussels. Their current regulatory policy is a recipe for political extremism. And to quote this article, it says these technocrats should spend less time fretting about the sightliness of the fruit that Europeans eat and the carbon they pump into their atmosphere, and more time getting out of the way of frustrated European entrepreneurs and job creators.
Now, you found a lot of focus on what the papers are calling a lurch to the right.
That's right, the scary lurch to the right, according to the Huffington Post. They have a list of the 9 scariest far-right parties now in the European Parliament. And of course, you can see Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right National Front Party here. To quote the article, it says, one has a leader with a swastika tattoo. One wants to rid his entire country of Muslims. This is the class of 2014. So on top of the National Front, you have, of course, the National Democratic Party in Germany, Golden Dawn in Greece, and the Northern League in Italy. But some papers are trying to play down the gravity of the situation. The editorial in The Independent today, for instance, says, yes, there is no doubt that there is a malaise in Europe. You can see there it talks about Euro blues, but this is no mindless lurch to the far right. This article tends to agree more with the Wall Street Journal. This is a warning to Europe rather than a mindless lurch to the right. Der Spiegel, the German paper, goes even further. It says this is actually a victory for European democracy. It's the one optimistic article I found in the press today. This article says, sure, voter turnout was very low. Right-wing populists made big gains, but this election was historically important and made Europe more democratic. How is that possible? Well, it says for the first time, major parties launched top candidates to be the head of the European Commission, and that's why voters got more power in this election.
Okay, well, there are other elections going on as well, and they're notably, of course, the election in Ukraine.
That's right. The Guardian draws a very interesting parallel between the European elections and this presidential election in Ukraine. You can see here, this is the editorial talking about the European elections, a vote against Europe. But let's take a look at their editorial about the Ukrainian election. It says it's a vote for Europe, and it says the only people who voted with wholehearted enthusiasm for Europe over the weekend were Ukrainians. Now, a lot of focus on the president-elect in Ukraine. Slate is focusing on him. You can see him there on the front page there, Petro Poroshenko. Now, you can see their title here, Did Peace Just Break Out in Ukraine? This article says the standoff with Vladimir Putin may have ended. Why is that? Well, they say that Poroshenko seems to be the right man for the times. Basically, he has ties to Russia, but he's very much in favor of Europe.
Should we talk about election number 3 then? This is Egypt, isn't
That's
it?
right. Egyptian elections also getting a lot of attention. Gulf News calls this the largest democratic elections in the Arab world. The entire country and the world is watching closely. This is very interesting, though, because they never mention the Muslim Brotherhood by name. This article basically talks about boycotters because the Muslim Brotherhood is boycotting this presidential election. Very harsh words for these boycotters, says they should know that the democratic process is the only legitimate means to political change. But this is another article, this time in The Guardian, not about the Muslim Brotherhood, but the Muslim Sisterhood, the female wing of the Muslim Brotherhood. This article says that since the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood, they've been taking a lot more importance politically, and so much so that they're asking for more rights.
Flo with an election special in the papers. Thanks a lot. Up for you next after the break, that special report I promised you from our chief foreign editor Rob Parsons in Donetsk. Plus, the row in Pakistan. This is involving the shooting of one of the country's most famous journalists. Also a TV channel involved and Pakistan's spy agency. Our team in the country investigate for us in Focus in the next half hour.